Welcome to the channel, welcome to the garage, and we need a bit more space to do an unboxing of this. Now, you can see by the front it's a Bluetti, and yet it is a power bank, an AC180 that I've recently picked up to treat the camper van and to solve a bit of a problem we've got. Now, just to go back through why I've bought this to an extent, we do have this little rascal of a power bank, which is a really nice one. Does the job. When we were away in Skye a few years ago, we used this to trickle charge the leisure battery that's in there. It's got the van's got a 110 amp hour leisure battery on board, which roughly runs it for about a day and a half, 2 days with the fridge running at about half temperature permanently. And then at night we would plug this in, and this would then trickle charge through the 12-volt power outlet back and charge the battery up overnight. We'd then charge it on solar in the day and repeat. We're in Skye was absolutely fine for 3 or 4 days. However, when we were in the Shock Register National Meet a few weeks ago, there was no chance of using solar because the weather was bad and we weren't anywhere near the van in the day. And the van, after 2 nights, pretty much died. This did a sterling job of just keeping everything just ticking along, but we couldn't do another night. Wouldn't have happened. So we're looking at an upgrade. I looked at potential lithium batteries on board, but ended up going with this because it was on a really good deal. So it's a Bluetti AC180, and it was a good price. It was a couple of pence shy of £500 delivered from Decathlon. I checked it recently. We got this a couple of weeks ago, and it's now back up to £600, just a few pence shy of £600 off at Decathlon. So I think I got a really good price. One of my mates has got one of these, and he really does like it. And it's going to solve a problem because the charge on this is about 10 times the charge on that. So the idea is that if we need to, we can go off grid with no hookup for hopefully 3, 4, 5 days. Anyway, this video, the start of this anyway, is an unboxing. So let's get this thing out of the box, take a look at it. Do some reviews. I'm not going to do a massive jump in review of this for the simple reason there's loads of these. This actual power bank is about 2 years old, so I think the reason why it's on offer is because it's due an update for a much smaller unit. So hence the reason why I got a good price on it. Right, the bloody thing's really heavy though. So hold on a minute. Let's see. I'm going to get this out of there. Out of box. In the box. Right. So let's have a look at this. What we've got on the front there. AC180 portable power station. Bluetti. It's exactly the same on the back. So let's get this open. It's a bit of a thing out. It is heavy. It must be about 15 kilos. Okay, what's this say on the inside? Keep this box. Show us without this box. Right. Okay. So we've got a certificate, instruction manual, straight in the top. We've got this. Yeah. So we've got a solar charging cable, car charging cable, and a mains charging cable. Perfect. That's there. Instructions there. This out. Wow, it's really well fitted, this, isn't it? Oh, that's good. It's not as big as I thought it was. Right, and so we've got a bag inside. There it is. Right. Front to you, front to you. Alright then. So, this is a size comparison. That's my original one. This has got 10 times the power. Right, let's give the camera do a quick walk around. So I've watched some videos on this, the reason why I bought it. Let's just have a quick look around and see what you get straight off the bat. There we go. Straight off the bat, let's have a look at the front of this. DC output. This is what I'll be using to hook it up to the van. Although I could run it up from one of the AC outlets, but using the inverter on board and run it through the we've got a hook up charger with a plug socket, so I could always hook it up to that if need be. Right, so what have we got? We've got the inlets, DC and PV input for charging it. We've got DC and AC connections there. We've got a USB-C, got a USB normal, USB-A, so we've got 5 volts and 3 amps and the 100 watt C. Wow, that's a big piece of kit. On the top, 15 watt wireless charger. On the side, the AC input, which is nice. I think that's just a laptops kind of thing. Circuit breaker. I'm assuming that's a ground unless you want to connect these together. You can just about see a fan in the back there. On the back, just some instructions and no doubt some information. So what have we got here? AC 230, 50, 60 watts, hertz, 10 amp max. We've got the DC 500 watt max. It's charge temperature and stuff. So yeah. So let's get to the bulk of it. So 1800 watt output of these, so it can check out a good chunk of power. 1152 watt hour, which is, I say, it's about 10 times the size of the little one over there. And yeah, it's looking good. There's nothing on this side. No. Right, let's switch it on. It's come with a 31% charge on it. Yeah. So honestly, I've 2 inverter outlets. These will be useful because if we're on camping, I'll be able to plug in an electric heater for the van. That's why I wanted these. I think on the American one you get 4 of these, but obviously the UK plugs are a bit bigger. Right, I'm quite impressed with that. I'm hoping it will fit where I want it to fit in the camper. Right. First thing I need to do is charge it. So, want to do a test on this? There's loads of videos out there showing people testing this and then stress testing it, plugging stupid things up to this. I'm not going to do that. We're going camping this weekend, only for one night. Going one night over somewhere, me and the missus. We're just going to do a bit of a test on it, see how much power we lose on that. So we're going to charge up to 100%. We're going to hook it up. We're deliberately not hooking the van up to on-site power. I'm going to run the van on this. Now, we'll be using the 110 amp hour leisure battery that's currently in the van. So we're going to kick off with that. But the plan is where we're going is only about less than an hour away. So we're going to not pre-chill the fridge. So we're going to really try and kill the fridge, and the fridge on really cold because the beer's in there. And then when we get there, we're going to hook this up to it. And we'll also, because the weather's turning a little bit worse this weekend, we're going to take a heater with us, one of those oil-filled heaters, and we're going to run that on this, as well as doing any more charging, as well as putting power through to the van. We've also got a DVD player, which I think might get hooked up to this as well. So it'll be the kind of things you expect to use for a night or 2 away, and then we'll see how much the percentage goes down. Because this is primarily what it's going to be used for. It's going to be used to sit in the van, supplement the charging of the van, and yeah, so we don't have to have a hookup, so we can go a bit further afield, or we can squeeze in on a campsite if we need to. So that's the testing. The other reason why I bought this is because I have a remote garage, and this would be really useful if I get lights put in there. I can get a plug-in system. So if I ever need to work in that garage on like the June buggy, that's where that lives, I can plug in the lights and away we go. And then I can also charge the batteries for the cordless tools if I ever needed to. But I'll have portable power with me as well. In addition, as a bonus, if we ever had a power cut in the house, I have seen a video in which something like this ran a fridge for about 12 hours. So fridge freezer. So again, it's not just for camping, it's a backup as well, backup power supply. Anyway, let's go throw it in the van and see if it fits where I hope it's going to fit, because it's a bit bigger than I was expecting it to be. But there'll always be room. Right. Next thing you'll see is we're in the van, and we'll see where it's gonna sit. Okay, camper van setup. I don't think I've done an actual walk around the van. I will do it at some point. So the plan is it'll sit nicely just here next to the cooker, and then we'll have an outlet from this that hooks up to the 12-volt outlet there, because it will back trickle charge the battery which is in the bottom of the cupboard, and this will just about fit there. That's perfect. Oh, maybe not. Oh, I think I might have to remove these off the back panel. These are only there because we take Polaroids when we go for a trip, and that's the first place I started sticking them. So I think we need to take these off. That can slide back and we can open this up. Typical. It just won't go when we lift this up. To be fair, that's the sink, so if we're ever using the sink, this will be moved out of the way anyway, but it does fit there nice and snug. Should be able to get to the outlet there, run it round with the cable to the front. I've ordered a big long cable for the simple reason of if we are using the cooker and the sink, we can put it on the floor, we could put it behind the seat. Currently, you can see we're going away this weekend. It's the camping kitchen. It could sit in there as well. The idea is to give us as much flexibility as we possibly can whilst keeping the van off grid for hopefully 4 or 5 days. Right. The next thing you should see is we're parked up in a campsite. Fingers crossed it's not raining and the thing's fully charged, and then we can start doing a bit of testing. The idea is I'll show you it all set up when we get there, and then we'll probably just break away from that then and come back and do a roundup of how much power it lost and things like that, and I'll tell you what we ran through it, and yeah, what percentage drop it had. So let's just do a quick overview before we set up in the van what you actually see on the screen. So we've got the input watts, that'll be from solar, or if you're charging it from your car as you're driving. The output in watts, percentage charged, and the typical number of hours that are left on the battery based upon what the output is. And I'm just going to hook up this light from the DC outlet and see how many, just to show how much watts it's pulling. You can see it's all hooked up and it's pulling about 3 watts of power to charge. So this will be able to tell me, obviously the screen goes quiet, goes off when it's not being used for a while to save the battery. This will tell me what the pull is at any one point, so I'll be able to do some updates I think when we're running the fridge and things like that, just to give you an idea of what each item hooked up to this typically pulls. So obviously we've got, this is the 3 watts. I did have my phone on top of this 15 watt and it was pulling about 10 watts to charge my Pixel 7. So yeah, I'll make a note and I'll work out what we hooked up one at a time, as well as how much draw the actual van is taking and the lights and things like that. And then we'll catch up when we get back from camping. Okay, update. Can you hear the fans going? I've just hooked it up to the mains and it's currently pulling over 1,000 watts in to charge it. So it's saying it's going to be charged in less than an hour. So I think we'll come back in about an hour and see if that is the case. We're back about an hour later. It says 0.1 of an hour to go, 99% charged. So that's done 2/3 of the battery charge in an hour. Really impressed with that. Right, next time you see me, hopefully we're on a campsite and it won't be raining with this hooked up. Cheers. We made it to Capesthorne and it's a lovely spot. The rain's sort of holding off. Let me show you how I've got the van set up. Right, as I said, we've got the Bluetti sat here. Unfortunately, the cable I needed to go from here to that didn't arrive in time, so we're just going to be running either the DVD player off it, or we've got the
this oil-filled heater if it gets too cold tonight. So to give it a bit of a test, the fridge is, we currently have a fridge running as well, that's running off the leisure battery. So that's us for the weekend. Some DVD, some beers out the fridge. Might run the heater because it's getting down to about 12 degrees tonight. We might give it a test for half an hour just to see how this handles it anyway for future camping trips. The fridge should last the night. It's only one night on the leisure battery. The leisure battery had a good charge on the way over here. So yeah, next time you see, we'll be back in the workshop. I'll give you a review of how we got on and how much power we dropped down.
We're back from a good night over at Capesthorne Hall. Lovely place. Highly recommend it for a night over. And doing a one night test on this to give an indication of how much power draw it takes to keep this van running from a practical point of view. Now we're going to go through what I went through. So we were there for one night. We parked about 3 o'clock. The fridge was running off the leisure battery because I didn't get the cable to get together. So I'm going to ignore that for the moment. That was running off the leisure battery. But we'll come back to that in a minute. We ran a number of things that evening off this. So let me just turn this on. You can have a look how much power we've used. So we're down to 67%. So we've used about a third of the power in one night. Now, it does seem quite a bit, and there's a reason for that. So let's go through what I went through, what we used, how much power draw each of those things had, to give you an indication, and I'll give you a roundup of how I think this will fit in and how long this will last for my camping. So let's start with DVD player. And this is a built-in battery, pretty basic one, but the battery doesn't last very long. It lasts about an hour and a half. So we had this running for about 4.5 hours over the evening, watching a couple of murder mysteries. So we had it hooked up to this. So this was powering this for about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. No, not about 2.5 hours. It was powering this at about 23 watts, which wasn't a lot. It was sipping it, which was fine. And as soon as this thing charged up, it would then stop drawing. We had 2 battery charges off this, which each one drew about. There was the 10 watt on the top, 13 watts for mine on the top, and then from the fast charger to my partner's phone, her phone was getting 23 watts, and they were both charged within the hour. So we had a couple of phone charges. He's had this running for charging for about 2.5-ish hours, maybe a bit longer than that. We also tested this. This is a 650 watt oil filled heater. Now when we first put this in out, I panicked because this thing was just pulling power at 650 watts. This is not going to last more than an hour and a half if it's pulling that for all of the time. This took about 10 minutes to get up to about half temperature. It's about 10 minutes to get up to temperature. Obviously it cuts out. What it was then doing was every 20 minutes it would kick back in and then charge at 650 watts for about 30 seconds to a minute and then cut back out again. That's the reason why we've dropped a hell of a lot on the overall percentage on this over that one night, because we're testing this. We had this running for about an hour and a half, at half temperature, and yeah, that's what we got to. So we were doing that. Probably wouldn't recommend this unless you had to, because what we normally do, and I've just tested this today, is we have a 12-volt heated blanket, and what we normally do is put this on the floor, plug this into the battery pack or the onboard power, and then this draws. It says 40 watts. It's drawing 50 watts, and then we'd have this just heating up your feet, and it would just gently heat the van up. And we've used this a number of times on a couple of temperatures, and it keeps you totally warm of an evening. So this sips power here. This is 50 watts. This is what we'd normally use. So in addition, just to give you just to go through where my numbers are coming from, we have this power bank. Now, because I couldn't hook this up to the leisure battery to trickle charge it overnight, I hooked this up. Now this is about 144 watts, I think is all kilowatts. It's about a tenth of the power of this. And this went down about 75% overnight, recharging the leisure battery, and keeping the fridge running. And we have the fridge at about a mid setting. We have a Domitech compressor fridge on board, which sips power, but it does use power. So to do a charge, a battery recharge that will last the day off this is about 75%. So we're going to say, if this is 10%, probably 8% on that. So let's have a round up, because I've thrown all the numbers out there. So we got 67% out of this, using not hooking up to the van, and using this for about an hour and a half each night, and the DVD player for 4 hours, 2.5 hours charging, and 2 phone charges. I reckon hooking the van up as well, we'd comfortably get 2 nights out of this setup, which I think is pretty good without that electrical hookup. I think if we were going away in the summer, we weren't necessarily needing too much heating at night. So we could use the heated blanket on the floor just to heat up, and then obviously make a brew at some point about 9 o'clock, and that would be just warm the van up again. I reckon with hookup on the van, I reckon I'd get 5 days out of this, 4 to 5 easy days of it running the whole van, including the fridge in here. We'll turn the fridge down or off at night and then put it back on in the morning. But I reckon you get 5 days of reasonable camping up this. And if we were then to use this as additional backup, we'd get another day. So I reckon between this and that, the leisure battery that's on board, I reckon we'd get 5 days using the DVD player of an evening, a little bit of heating off the electric blanket, and 3 or 4 phone charges over that period of time. And I'm really happy with that. That doesn't assume we have bad weather, because I do have a 100-watt solar panel, which we could hook up to this. So potentially we could trickle charge either this or this to charge it up, and then if this gets a full charge in about 3 hours, again that extends the van for another night. So I imagine the same will be for this as well. So with solar on decent weather, comfortably 5 days, I think. Poor weather, between those 2 power banks, not using this, I reckon you get 4 days, and that's all we need. But yeah, well worth getting this, just as that to get away from that power anxiety you normally get in a camper van. You're constantly checking how much voltage you've got and things like that. This takes that away. If we're going away for a long weekend, 2 nights, 3 nights, just throw this in, charge the battery up, and we're good to go for the whole weekend. That's not a problem at all. We're going to go for a longer period of time, again, this will do it. Not a problem at all. Add some solar in if we can. If it's a decent week, I reckon we get 5 days out of it. But yeah, really happy with this. Would I recommend it? Yeah, I probably would. It's a bit bulky. You saw it was sat over there against where would we keep it in the day. You just get a little bit in the way, but we're going to put a long cable in it, and it'll comfortably go if we need to between the driver and passenger seat. If we have to store it somewhere, we can cable it all the way through and round to hook the van up. But yeah, really pleased with it. At 500 quid, I think was a really good price. I do know it's gone up through Decathlon to £600. If you've got one of these, let me know. Write down below. Let everyone else know how you get on with it. How long does your van last on this? And then list also what you normally use for charging on that, so people get an idea of when they go away, are they going to use similar things, similar charging, similar need for power. I think that's more useful, because I've seen some videos in which they basically run a PS3 or a PS4 and a big 40-inch TV in the back of a van and use this, and that's great, and it gives you an indication how much draw it'll pull. But for me, I just want to know, if I go for a weekend, 3 or 4 days, will this power my van? And generally what I need, which is DVD player, the fridge, the lights, a couple of phone charges, and that's what I need to know. And this will do that. So we'll leave it there. I will be using this. We've got a number of camping trips booked in for next year. I think we've got 3 or 4, and this will be being used. So I might do a sort of follow up next year, doing a full weekend on this and see how we get on. But I think we'll leave it there. And if it was useful, let me know. And made it this far, thanks for watching. Cheers.